We're live.
Oh, good morning. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting of November 4th, 2021. This meeting will now come to order. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our inspirational word for the day comes from Galatians, because love is what matters most. It takes top priority.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Commissioner Lundy.
I'm here.
Budget Director Casey Saunders.
Here.
Okay, we'll begin with budget hearings. Our first speaker today is Sheriff Phil Stemetti, and he has with him Captain Ashdown, Captain Hammond, and Administrative Secretary Kelly Thompson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. Good morning, everybody. I had sent some information over to you on the budget itself and then on the vehicles too, which hopefully you all got. I did want to start out about the jail budget. Obviously, the 0.25% sales tax brings in $12 million, so I realized you had to supplement the rest out of the general fund. I understand that part of it. We're asking for a 2.3 increase in that budget. Obviously, we're still down quite a few officers. I can tell you I still have officers that are out on COVID. I've had some of them out since last November. We have some on disability separations and disability leaves. So it seems like it shows us having 92 when we never have 92. And, that's part of doing the business and part of people, and, people get sick. I understand all that too. But we need to get to 100 because that's what we need to run that jail properly. As you guys know, that jail was built in 1977, and it's a direct supervision jail, so it's a little bit harder to supervise inmates in that one because you have to have direct supervision of them. We know in newer jails there's different ways of doing things, but you still can't take away manpower. We're hoping that with this budget here, we'll be able to do 8 more, which is what we need. We're doing backgrounds right now. I can tell you, even with the deputies, as far as the jail fund, I appreciated last year you gave me funding for 3 more deputies. The only issues we've had lately is that we've had a few retirements. I had 2 guys to leave to go over to Lorain City, because they give that different package over there. But hopefully they can sustain that as they go along. But we're still down. I've hired 10 new deputies within the last 8 months, and we're still down 5. And I actually got a couple more retirements coming up for some deputies too. One's leaving next April. One may leave the end of this month. So it's a kind of a shell game, but we're constantly doing background investigations on them. And to do a good background, I can tell you, it takes you a good 2 months to do a complete background by the time you do a complete physical, a psychological check. A lot of these guys that apply have been at different police departments, so obviously you got to do a check there to make sure that they've never been in any problems or any trouble there, because we don't want to bring it over in Lorain County if there is that. But it takes you a while to do those. But that's why I'm asking for the increase in the jail. And then for the general fund, I know originally, Casey, you got our budget. It was $86,000 less, but my only issue with that was my secretary was out then with her husband having COVID, and the other secretary was out. So me and Angela, the newest secretary, tried to put all this stuff together. And after speaking with the captain and some of the stuff we need, I really would just like the same budget you gave me last year with no increase. Now, there is 3% raises in there that we'll be able to give the employees, but I don't want any more than I got last year for the general fund. And then I'll entertain any questions that you guys may have.
Can you elaborate more just on the challenges of trying to staff? I know that I think it was the city of Elyria. I think they lost like 5 officers to the city of Lorain too, and I know Lorain's really been beefing up with some new programming and stuff like that. But we just hear this every place we go. Heck, I stopped for a bagel this morning. The guys tell me he can't get enough help in his shop, and everywhere I go, regardless of the profession, I'm hearing the same thing. But
Yes,
What are,
Commissioner.
what are people saying to you? Are you like interviewing people? What I keep hearing is we're interviewing people, but then they don't take the job or don't show up after it's offered to them.
Yeah, we haven't had too much of that, I don't believe, Captain. And I think you can elaborate on that.
So far, I think we've maybe had two
If you
or
can
three.
come up to them,
Yeah.
one of the mics.
Yeah, currently, I think we did a total background on 13. We had 2 or 3 that turned the job down. A lot of times they come into this not realizing the added stressors and the danger involved. So we get them started in field training. Lost one guy 3 weeks in because he figured out that this is not the field for him. So that's another added difficulty of these. We spend 2 months doing a background on somebody. You bring them in, you start coaching them up, and they figure out this isn't the field for them. So then we're 3 months into somebody and having to go back to square one.
And the background's taking a long time. Does that go through FBI, the state, or what's?
We run them through, federal checks and state checks, and like I say, if they're employed in public employment, private employers won't tell you nothing. They'll tell you, this person was employed from this date to that date, and we're not giving you any other information. So we can't force them, but public employers, we do public records requests to them. So, and we actually go and visit their personnel files, because sometimes, I've heard, oh, that person's a great guy, and then when you go over and look at him, you're like, well, he had this problem, he doesn't come to work on time, he has, so it takes a good 2 months to do a background. Even on corrections, I mean, it's like, it's tough there, and we're doing the same thing with them. We try to vet these guys out. We have them come in and tour the jail, because that job is not for everybody. When you're back locked up with prisoners for 8 hours out of the day, at least the deputy, I always said, can get in the car and drive to the next call. These guys got nowhere to drive. They can go to the lunchroom for a half an hour and then back into the jail. So we don't even buy them uniforms anymore as far as corrections, because the problem we had, someone would come there, we'd get them a uniform, 3 months later, they'd leave. Then we make them sign a paper saying, we bought you all these uniforms, it's probably $1,500, pay us back. But we tried to go through the prosecutor's office sometime, and, to get them to pay it back is like pulling teeth. But, so we give them a shirt now that says Lorraine County Sheriff's Office. If they can hang in there for 3 months, we know they're gonna stay, then we'll go out and purchase their uniforms. Pardon? Oh, yeah, we take that shirt back and get it cleaned and give it to the next person that comes in.
I know it's frustration we hear with a lot of communities is they feel like they bring a new officers in, or in your case, deputies in, you train them, and then they end up going someplace else. And yeah, I just wish there was some way we could work out some agreements with the union or whatever it may be that's saying, hey, you're at least going to make a 2-year commitment or something, or a 3-year commitment.
Right, and that's the thing what Lorraine did, they changed some of their lateral transfer stuff. Used to be all civil service, you had to take their test, get on the list. Now they're allowing guys coming over, and if I have 15 years on at the sheriff's office, they're allowing me to come over there with 15 years. And then they're paying me a 15-year longevity payment. So but you're right, we got a bargaining unit agreement with the deputies that doesn't allow that. Now, we could try to negotiate with them, but some of these guys are like, well, I don't want a guy coming in making more money than me, that I've been there 10 years, he's coming in his first year, but you try to say, well, he actually has 15, but they don't want to hear that part of it. It's like, hey, I don't want him making any more than I'm making. But we're all, the same pool we're all trying to fight for, I guess, in this county now, between Lorraine and Elyria. Elyria did the same thing, they got lateral transfers. They're probably hiring more guys that way than they are through a civil service exam, because they're already certified. They don't have to send them to basic police school. They bring them right in, just put them through a field training thing, and there they go. So you're right, we're all fighting for the same pool of people. But we are getting calls, I can tell you, some things just sort of go, it's just right now what's going on in the world. You guys know that Ray Floyd thing was a horrible thing. No police agency or a police officer should ever operate that way. We know that. But that's not the majority of what's going on in this country. The majority, I can tell you, police officers are good officers. They want to go out there and do their job day in and day out. You always have that 1%. That's the ones that I personally, as sheriff, try to weed out of my place if I know there's problems with them. But once again, you got unions. They can file grievances, go to arbitrators. Arbitrators make these decisions. There's people there that I don't think should be there, but I can't control all that either. I can just do what I can do.
And on the jail front, when that sales tax was designated, for the jail, I guess the hope always was that would, cover a good portion of the cost. But as the years have gone on, we've had to continue to supplement that with additional funds. And I think a lot of folks aren't, necessarily aware of that until we tell them about that.
Yeah, because you remember back in the days when like 90% went towards operations,
Right.
10% construction.
Right.
Then as you're right, prices went up, things went up, contracts changed, then it went to 100%. Now, we did at one point have a $13 million surplus into that, but it got dwindled down as the years went by. Now there is no surplus. So,
Well, in '94 when that passed, I believe the county felt, the people that voted for it felt it was for the construction of a jail. And then I guess there was a legal opinion that came out after it passed saying that it could be used towards all the expenses of the jail. And I know 20 years ago when we talked about that, you talked about how much money was not being allocated to the jail that should have been. So,
yeah, you're right. There was so much money that, and even when Sheriff Mahoney, my predecessor, was there, he had told those commissioners presently that that is not going to sustain this all. It'll sustain so many officers. And they go, well, we're going to, operational, we're going to just put it all in operations. And they did, and eventually, like I say, it got spent down. That's
Yeah.
why you guys are supplementing. It's about $5 million now. And really, the 0.25%, it's bringing in pretty good money. I mean, last year, I was surprised that it didn't brought in $12 million.
yeah, but it goes directly to the general fund, not for the jail, which is what that 0.25% was put on the ballot for. That's how it was sold, correct? I mean, I remember, that was before my time, right?
Yeah, no, it was dedicated
That's
to the
always been
jail
earmarked.
itself.
Yeah,
That-
earmarked?
that yes, it was.
If you want to say earmarked, but
Come on.
It was supposed to be, go ahead.
Dating myself, but originally, when that passed, they agreed that that would fund the additional 56 officers that it would take when the addition was opened. And the present staff that was there was coming out of the general fund.
Right.
So that's what allowed the future renovation and construction fund to build. And then they eventually went to 95-5 split, and shortly after that, they said all 100%. So everybody working there comes under that funding.
Right.
So obviously, as staff grows and cost grows, that's when it
That
went.
drained the
that's-
surplus,
That's when it
correct.
went away.
Yeah. This might be a question for either Casey or yourselves. On your budget, I don't see anything in here for electric and gas, any carrying costs of the jail. Does that come at another account, Casey? Or, that's not in their budget, so.
Kelly, you might even know that. That is. So yes, that does come out of the general fund. That miscellaneous.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna make it,
Pay part of the general.
here, I'll simplify my question now. We're gonna be talking about building a new jail, and I'm looking for a cost comparison. I wanna know exactly how many, in here you have employees, but not the number of 9.7 million, but really that's just, must be for just the dollars, not the PRS, not the hospital, not the insurances, which takes us closer to like $14 million. And that's what I'm looking at here. And I'm trying to figure out, unless you got employees at 9.7, does that include healthcare? Because, do you know?
Yeah, it's all the health benefits, that, the total
'Cause I
that he's
see
got there is everything,
Yeah,
it's
but then I got
salaries,
hospitalization.
benefits.
Because the healthcare, I know,
Yeah, that's
comes out of the
healthcare. That-
jail, but the healthcare out of the general fund, you guys pay it.
There's a line item.
There's a line item for
Yeah, so
hospitalized.
there's the
God, I hate
salaries,
this.
and then line item for PRS, line
Yep.
item for health, like
Right.
Medicare, everything, yeah.
So it's
So that
9.7
total
plus
16 million isn't everything.
But that's just employees, not for that's just for the employees.
Right, that line item, 5,000 or whatever, is 9 million, that's just the salaries. And
Right,
then
right.
the PRS line item would be,
Right here. So I added all this up. We're closer, and you're at 92 employees in the jail.
Yes.
But I have a feeling, what I'd like to have Casey work with.
That's 92 corrections officers, not employees.
Thank you. That's that's where I was going. He knew where I was going. So, who would Casey work with in your department? Because I'm looking, if we're gonna have a true discussion on building a jail, it's gonna be really a financial discussion. It's gonna be a cost efficiency discussion. It's gonna be how many employees to run the jail, the new jail versus currently just keep putting Band-Aids on. And in order to do that, I'm looking for more of a detail from Casey or your department to say, here's how many employees we have. This is, you know, I know we're not going to be able to do this, but it'd be nice to see that, let's say you got, out of the employees, 25% are going to retire in the next 5 years or whatever. I mean, maybe that's down the road. We can look at that to see how can we, you know, get some efficiencies in regards to running a new jail, if that's the path this board's going to go. We don't know. And for me to make that decision or have that discussion, I need to have all the information so I can look at it financially and say, here's where we're at today. This is what it's going to look like with the more efficient jail. And this, I'm hoping that the savings by creating a new efficient jail, and if we bond it out, will cover the savings, and we won't even see an impact in our budget by building a new jail. That's the dream, okay? Now, can I get there? I don't know. That's going to be up to your numbers people with our numbers people, and I'd like to take a look at where we're at now, what's it costing to run it, and what's the efficiencies of a new jail, and I'd like to have that discussion soon, and I'd like to have somebody work with Casey and have it. I mean, is this something we could have in a couple weeks, do you think?
Are you wanting like a spreadsheet that has a list of employees, what they make?
Yep.
Their health benefits?
Yep.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet.
Okay,
That's
and
similar,
then-
that has like what your uniform longevity,
Yep.
overtime rate, all
Yep.
that.
Okay, how about, yeah, and then how about the actual jail itself on the expenses? Who would have that? Would you have that? Like the gas, electric? Okay.
The
Because
other
on
thing
here,
we have to remember, Commissioner, too, is that, I know we just did a study, but to me, that was not a in-depth study. We need a in-depth study like Voorhees did several years ago, where it shows all the criminal trends that go on in the cities and everything else. That's what we really need. That was done, how many years ago, Cap?
Complete in 2009.
Yeah, that was an excellent study. I'm not knocking this guy who did this one, but it wasn't,
no, but can we get a copy of that? Do you guys?
yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I can give you guys a copy of that. Yeah, that was a great study.
I'll have 3 copies delivered today.
Actually, Commissioner
Thank
Kalo back then, Captain Hammond and myself went out to Longmont, Colorado for the National Institute of Corrections to see if we could get money from them at that time. But that's when the economy kind of took a tank at that point, so it never came to fruition. But Captain Hammond, he's got a lot of information on this too, but we probably can do, if you do like an indirect type jail, we can watch some employees, you know, then, maybe. But you can't cut your employees out too much, because then, you know, you've got a lot of safety issues there too in the jail.
No, there's a lot of safety issues, and my concern,
Yeah, yes, you can.
I mean, all the things that you're bringing up are obviously great topics, and they got to be discussed. But we have to understand what our future needs are going to be, and then decide what kind of model of jail before we even can really get to hard numbers. And we've worked with Hills. In my opinion, that's an opinion, and it's a good opinion, but it's not an analysis. I mean, when I look at Warren County that just built, they've got 80,000 people less in their county than we do. They're exactly 30 miles from Cincinnati like we are Cleveland, but yet their median household income in the county is $87,000. Their biggest city is Mason with an income of $100,000. They're an educated population with a professional workforce. They can't possibly be seeing the same crimes that we're seeing in the volume that we are, but yet they did all their work with 3 national firms and built a 494-bed jail with the possibility of adding on 500 more beds, and they increased their maximum security cells to 60% of that cell rate. We're at 35%. We can't. So until we understand what kind of jail we need and what the future need is, I think it's really going to be hard to predict that. But if it is the right jail, you can probably, through attrition,
right.
maybe lower your staff, but to put a quantified number on that in 2 weeks, I don't know how you.
Oh, no,
I mean,
I'm not talking about a quantified number in 2 weeks for the new jail. I'm talking about getting your numbers now, okay?
Right.
And then, I mean, there's all sorts of ideas, and there are ideas and dreams where people are talking about, you know, halfway houses in this county. You know, they're talking about all these different judges are looking for other ways so that people are not going to jail. I mean, when I was here 20 years ago, you guys had people sleeping on the floor, remember? We were over capacity. Now we're at what, 200 and?
Our overall volume has trended down.
Right, right.
But what's trended up is violent crime.
Oh, well, that and drug abuse and mental illness,
Violent
and these
crime.
are all,
I mean, 26 murders in that jail today.
yeah,
And they're not going anywhere fast.
right.
I
No,
mean,
no, I'm aware of
One's been
that.
there 4 years waiting to get adjudicated.
Right.
So, you know, it's a long process,
Yep.
and those people are the money eaters. health issues and,
Oh,
you
I'm
know,
like
just
going,
by,
you made it sound like a good thing. You're like the money
no,
years.
no, I'm
like,
saying,
what?
you know, the longer they're there, the more
the more
problems.
costs.
They cost a lot of money.
They cost more money.
Are you guys still doing, what about the federal issue? Remember how you guys would make more money off federal prisoners?
We never did federal
They
prison.
never did? Because I know,
One,
remember-
we never had room.
yeah, well, back then, yeah, we
Then-
were like fighting
then
with
when you look
Lorraine.
at their contracts and conditions,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough.
Oh, okay,
That's why nobody does it anymore.
okay, I was wondering what
There's
happened.
very few.
Because remember, that was like a big thing everybody fought for.
was for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
Yeah, Luria did that for a while, but then,
yeah.
I can tell you, I can guarantee you the jails are not money-making operations. There's no way.
No.
Anybody tells you that, they don't know what they're talking about. So,
Well, you know, and it's like, you know, I hate to use this, but it's almost like, are we, you know, are we for hope or are we for despair? You know, and I figure we are the budget authority here, so that's why I'm asking for financial numbers. So
We
that
can get that
do-
for you,
So
Commissioner.
we can look at them, I can take a look at the numbers, the board can take a look at the numbers, and then we can start, maybe drive down to Warren County and see what they've done. How did they get their financing, you know? Where did they get their money? Is this, you know?
They passed a tax.
Yeah, well,
And I think it is, like you say, a pretty affluent community, just like Butler County. They're comparable to us, but, you know, they have just a lot more different type of industries down there and just a lot more income coming in.
well, maybe it's white collar crime. Maybe for 57 million, they got tennis courts. Who knows? Yep.
I think they probably built a pretty good model.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Based on what I can see on the internet.
Yeah.
Until you walk in it, but I think they built in those efficiencies.
We're gonna go see it, and I would invite the commissioners too, when
I
we
like-
get ready,
yeah.
if you guys would like to come and see that, because I heard it's really state of the art. I talked to Sheriff Sims, he says it's really a great facility, and
Well, let me know when. Are you guys trying to set one up now,
Yeah,
or
I'm just waiting on a call for them. Once things settle down, the major will call me.
okay?
And, we'll make the trip.
but we'll get those numbers for you. But you're right, that jail is to the point now where it's gonna drain more funding to try to even just the upkeep of it. I can tell you, the roof on there right now, it needs completely replaced. I mean, it leaks. She puts buckets up in her office because
I
water
saw
comes
the
down on the
photos.
computer.
Yeah, I saw the photos.
And it's,
We chase those down. That,
yeah, we try to.
No, that looks dangerous. A lot. Just trying to take them.
they come out. If you dig back through, you'll see the, probably Northern Ohio roofing. They're there
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you build a new jail today or a new building and 6 months later, a flat roof, you probably gonna have a leak anyway. It's gonna start quick.
Depends on how you build it, I guess.
Yeah.
Sheriff, Sheriff, if I could just, a follow-up question to what you and Commissioner Moore were talking about.
Sure.
You mentioned a future needs analysis study, if I'm remembering correctly what you said, there was one done in 2009, was that the year you said?
Yes, that
And
was
what was the name of the
Voorhees, I think it was VORHIS.
VOORE.
They're no longer-
HIS?
They phased
Okay.
it out.
study? So the question I have, you know, we've got the jail assessment from Mr. Hill. So would it help you to have to order a future needs analysis study today? If we get that done, so both things can work together? Is that what would help you?
There's you gotta get the state involved at some point, but, yeah, there are, you need an analysis, because that will tell you what your future needs are as far as jail space, what type of jail space you need. They'll project what your population's gonna look like. You can go back and read the one that we did, and they missed on some things, because society's
It'd be
changed.
cool because they said future, so now we're in the
Yeah.
future.
I know, so I guess my question more directly is, are you asking the board if we would order a fresh one, a fresh
I'll tell you
study?
what, I'll get you that report that we have presently. You can take a
Okay.
look at it and you can see what they did. And
Okay.
then we'll have to vet out if you want us to look for a company that probably could do the same
Okay.
type of thing,
Well,
we can.
we'll leave that in your hands then to let us know.
Yeah, because you know what? You watch these TV shows about the future. In 2021, we're going to have flying cars. So, you know, sometimes you wonder about these future needs analysis.
Yeah.
So hopefully with jails and that, they can see past trends, and hopefully it's something they can show, you know. Again, it'd be interesting, the one from 2009, so.
Yeah, it really is a good report, but
Okay.
unfortunately, because of funding at that point, we couldn't
How
really
much
do
did it
anything.
cost for that report? Do you guys remember?
80 or 85,000 was one of the two. I know it was one of the two numbers.
Okay, I just wondered, so.
Okay, Commissioner Lundy?
I know with the Rescue Act dollars, the clearest message is it can be used for a public health emergency. I'm always alarmed when we talk about 24% of our inmates are detoxing at the jail. And 47%, I think, have some mental health assessments that need to take place. I mean, we've become a detox and mental health facility, and that's shouldn't be happening, quite frankly.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think most police departments in this county would agree with you.
Right.
We need to have a place to take them to, and that's what we're trying to do, I know, through the Nord Center and things of that order. And,
Right.
you know, hopefully that'll come to fruition.
With the whole emphasis, I know when I was in Columbus, the transition really started to move towards community-based corrections, and so we didn't have as many people, in the jails, and I wouldn't be surprised over the years if we see such things as marijuana possession change. It's hard enough trying to test it and figure out what it is, and all those other things.
It's changed already, Commissioner.
yeah,
I'll tell you that,
yeah.
My guys that
So-
find minute amounts, they don't even do anything with it anymore. Like you say, you can't get it tested.
Yeah, you get it tested and do the
And
write-ups.
To be honest with you, I foresee in this state, at some point, it's
Right.
probably going to become legal.
Right, right. But, this just, again, sheds a light on the importance of dealing with the epidemic in this county, how we need this one-stop crisis center. I think it also shows that, we need support for our crime lab, which plays a critical role in your undercover people being able to test things and then go back out and make the proper arrest. And so we can get it to the prosecutor and get the convictions and get the folks off the streets. And, I know you're still working closely with the drug enforcement people to deal with the high-intensity drug activity that's going on around here. We've got some serious issues when it comes to drug activity.
No doubt about it. And, we send things to BCI, but they're so overwhelmed right now. By the time you get it back, it takes months to get any kind of test back from them. And it's not their fault either. I get it. They're just so inundated with stuff that it would be nice if we could test some of the stuff locally and get it back within a couple days, but.
Well, with issue 24 with issue 24 passing, it sounds like you guys we were talking about this before. This is like our public commercial. We are hiring out here for good police officers, and if Cleveland's unhappy, right? You guys
Yeah, we'll look at anybody.
Yeah, don't say it like that.
Anybody that's good.
There
put
you
it
go.
that way. No, we do the backgrounds, believe me.
I know.
And there's people that we've turned down. We just told them that, there's things in your background we're just not going to consider you.
Okay,
Are
appreciate it.
we doing a report on the vehicles today?
If you would like.
Just a quick 5-minute overview.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you, Captain. And thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
All right, it's gone from the screen.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
That's why he's the computer man.
That's Russell. All right, real quick overview. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. Our vehicle maintenance coordinator, Grant Coben-Nelson, helped me put this together. The opening slide is what our current fleet looks like for the most part. In the center is our current Caprices, which are our oldest, about 2014. Tahoe on the right, and our newest vehicle in the fleet, the Ford Explorer on the left. Along with our program, we run our support program. Still continues to this day to expand the life of the car to about 8 years over a 3-year. If it was in a regular fleet use, running 24/7, between 2 or 3 different guys driving it. With that program, we also gain about 30 minutes of additional patrol time when those deputies are going to and from work,
It also cuts down on our overtime and our response time to emergency calls when they're doing that. Also provides added safety to the fleet because our fleet is now spread out across the county versus being in one location if there was a natural disaster. And this year, we've added 4 cars to the fleet to accommodate the addition of an SRO at Midview and the 3 additional deputies that were granted this year. So we're currently running 68 patrol units in the fleet. This is the one matrix that we've been using for several years now to assess the condition of the fleet. This is Grant's specialty as far as condition of the vehicles. We did with 2017 and older. You'll see in the poor category, under their recommendations, we have 13 cars that are due for immediate replacement. And as you go back each year, or on the scores here, 8, 6, and 1 being in excellent condition. Then we look at the average mileages. National average is still running about 100,000 miles. Michigan State Police that does the testing for the nation
I think we
recommends
were-
at 70,000.
Yeah, we refer to them as that state up north, I think, is the way
Yes.
we do that.
I believe Michigan is the appropriate term.
We'll have to respectfully disagree on that one.
And here at the sheriff's office with the maintenance that Grant maintains on the vehicles, we are safely operating them till about 140, 160,000 miles currently. With that being said, right now, you see the trend in our fleet. We've got 10 cars right now between 130 plus and 100,000 plus. And we're looking at those cars in the 70,000 range in the middle there that are a 9. So you can see our predictions have been pretty consistent year to year, that 8 to 10 cars are coming up for replacement. In addition to the vehicle cost, this is additional equipment that goes into each car each year, and we've found that after you run a car for 8 years, this is stuff that needs to be replaced as new. We always have to decal a car up so that it says Sheriff's Office on it. New radar for speed and traffic enforcement, the new cameras for monitoring, and the new MDT for communication with 911 receiving dispatch. Unfortunately, the computer components have taken a huge jump this year with supply and demand. So we're looking at an additional cost to the cars of $10,000 and almost $200. Current cost right now on the 3 options that are in rotation are the Dodge Durango, Ford Utility, and the Chevy Tahoe. The Dodge Durango is actually the cheapest option this year, but comes with some additional safety features that the other vehicles don't. They have a skid plate that protects the underbody of the vehicle, including the engine compartment. We found out that small animal strikes on the Ford Explorers, they do not hold up well, and if you do any damage to the front bumper, you have to replace from the grill all the way down to the rear, lower valance, and it's an $800 to $1,000 part. So small animal strike costs a lot of money to fix. The other thing that we've noticed is with all the gear loaded in the trunk of an Explorer, if we get a flat tire to change it roadside, we have to unload all that equipment out of the back to get to the spare tire. The Durango has it under the body like most trucks do. And they've actually designed their seat with a higher seatbelt connector so that it comes out over our duty belts, versus guys trying to dig down in the side of the seat and find their seatbelt connection. Overall, with the state of the fleet currently and the additional cars that we've put in to keep from having to double and triple up cars, we are requesting 10 vehicles this year. Expect that to go back down for next year. Knock on wood, this year we only lost 1 car to a crash. It was an unmarked detective unit, and we were lucky enough that the person at fault was insured, and we were able to replace that with an appropriate used vehicle at a reduced cost to a new replacement. See there on the options, again, the Dodge Durango comes in at the lowest at just over $426,000 for 10 vehicles. Keeping in mind the current state contract did expire on October 31st, so we do not have new pricing. We're expecting that hopefully by the end of November. Because the other thing that they have done with the supply demand problem, all of our vendors that we've talked to, the factories will not take orders on letters of intent or pre-orders from the dealerships. We've been lucky the last couple of years, those dealerships have pre-ordered 100 vehicles to fill police needs. They now have to have purchase orders in hand to place vehicle orders, and some of those cutoffs are as soon as January. So we're waiting for all that information to come forward and get that to you as soon as we can, which is why we included this request in the budget hearing today. Any other questions?
When do we expect to see the 2022 state pricing then, if the 2021 expired at the end of October?
We're hoping this month. Usually in November, the pricing will come out.
Because we have to make a decision as soon as possible so we can get in the queue, and then with the supply chain issues, or any indication that the earliest we'd see the vehicles is maybe 18 months out or
Correct.
a year
Well,
out? Or
Funny enough, the 8 cars that you approved at our last request, those are actually being delivered later this morning. They finally came in. We got lucky. Ford promised us that they would get police units out by November, so they're being delivered today, which includes the 2 hybrids that we had proposed last request, so that we can start to do that research on that fuel economy for the 2023 request and see if that is a beneficial use of the vehicles.
Once you get them outfitted and decaled, send a picture over to John. or
Absolutely.
So we can get it on Facebook.
But we're going to have to make a decision on this pretty fast then.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, real fast. And you talked about the difference between the Dodge and the Ford. I think you know where I'm normally at, since we're in Ford country. But do you really think there's a better advantage on the Dodge here compared to the Fords, or might there be an interest in trying a couple of the Dodges with the Ford? Not that I'm suggesting that. I'd prefer Fords, but
We will do what is at your pleasure. One of the things we are waiting for is we're always looking at the pricing on it. Grant did go to the National Fleet Week and did drive testing with the Durango and the Ford. They're both very similar, comparable. Like I said, there were a few added safety features to the Durango that would be interesting to see in testing. But again, it's going to come to pricing, and unfortunately for Chevy, they continue to raise their prices to the where they're not even really in the neighborhood.
And that skid plate or whatever, that protective plate underneath isn't even an option on the Ford?
It is not. Ford actually makes an Explorer for civilian use that has a reinforced lower bumper. And we brought that up at Police Fleet to them that, you know, why don't you include that on your police package vehicle? And they're supposed to take it back to their corporate uppers and mention that, but there's been no design change as of yet. Well, that's why I had mentioned that. With the small vehicle strike, we did have a guy who struck a raccoon, and it tore out the whole lower air dam. The core support that holds the radiator busted the radiator. With that skid plate in place, we probably would have reduced at least half of that damage, if not more.
How much damage did it cause?
Yeah, that was $1,500 worth of damage.
Just from a
And-
raccoon?
And it took us 4 months to get parts for it.
it sounds like we're going to need that info as soon as possible when the pricing comes in, so we can get in the
As soon as
queue.
state bid comes out, we'll let you know for sure.
Okay, make
Thank
sure you
you.
include KC when you send the email. You're all set, Commissioners? Potty break, recess.
take that off, I guess.
Oh, Russell, you have the wrong one up.
No, it's,
Oh, it's not up, it's on deck, okay.
yeah.
Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Morning.
Welcome back.
Thanks for waiting.
Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no, no problem.
Okay, and we have our next presenters will be Soil and Water, Will Schlechter, Chair, and Bill Forthofer. So sorry, Vice Chair. Thank you, welcome.
Okay, well, thank you for having us. I guess we'll go over the budget here. Do you have it in front of you, I would assume?
Yeah.
Okay. So our biggest expense is employees, as you see. And what this represents, currently we have 3 employees in our office. And what we want to do, because there's so much work out there that needs done, and then with H2 Ohio coming, we want to make sure we're ready. So we would like to add another person. So what this reflects is 4 people in our office. Our secretary, our stormwater specialist, a technician, and education specialist. That way we can get the word out, for what funds are available, so producers are able to know what's available and get some boots on the ground for soil conservation and get our water quality at a better level.
We're providing some stormwater funds for you too, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the whole logistics of the
I'd
where the
have to look at
funding
what that
actually
amount
comes
is, in
from.
case
I mean,
you remember.
it does come from the general fund.
Right.
But it may get funneled from
Some from
stormwater
stormwater.
through the general fund to us.
It's more of a reimbursement, maybe. Do you think?
Yeah, we'll find that number. That's fine, I can't remember the number, but
Yeah, I'm not sure of the specific amount. So I guess what we're looking at, just for salaries, 167,000. And then there's all the other things that come with having an employee, hospitalization, Medicare, peers, workman's comp. Basically, that comes down to about 74,000 employee, with a $18 to $23 an hour, 40-hour work week. That's the base level. Somewhere between $18, $22, $23 is where we, at the base level where we, our employees are, what their salaries are. And then the next biggest one is the building rent, what you guys own, so you get the money back. I don't think I need to go through the rest of them. They're pretty small budgets. So our total budget is $351,000, and because of the way the state matches what you give us, what we'd be asking for is $125,000 of that for our $351,000 budget.
Oh, that's why we're doing rent, that's why, so we can get the match from the state. Okay.
So,
I'm like,
I don't know if you have any questions. Bill and I, we're basically volunteers. We're on the board. We don't get paid nothing. None of the other board members do. And we're from the community, and it's our passion to keep Lorraine County great. Lorraine County used to have one of the best soil and waters in the whole state, and we want to get back to that level. But it's little steps, and I think this is a step in the right direction. Would you guys have any questions?
I appreciate you guys as volunteers taking time out of your day to come in and talk to us, We do
Yeah.
appreciate that, so.
Can you tell us about how your, responsibilities are increasing and the challenges that you're having?
Well, just with H2 Ohio, I know it's not in our county yet. It's in the Western Basin. We should be in it, but we're not. That responsibility there is going to be huge, because there's going to be money from the state to, disperse to producers to help increase their conservation. And so there needs to be an education effort to the producers so they know what's out there. And there also has to be someone to implement those practices to make sure they're done properly, make sure the funds are spent properly. And that, the state is putting that on the soil and water offices all across the state. So that's just one thing. And then, education or partnerships. There's several partnerships out there, and we can do so much more with those. With LCC, if we had someone extra in the office, we can maybe get some interns to come in paid or unpaid, you know. Volunteers is a huge thing. People love to volunteer for feel-good projects, you know, cleaning streams. I don't know. There's several things we talked to. Sorry, my mind just doesn't click all the time, but there's several things that volunteers can help with, but you need people in our office to help manage that and make it come together. And whenever, you know, our stormwater specialist, she is super busy. The new houses coming in, her permits, yeah, I've
That's
got
what I
some
was going to
figures.
talk
I
about,
wanna
the
keep it
growth in the
short.
county. Yeah, the growth in the county is certainly,
It's huge.
yeah.
So the fee she's collecting has increased. And it's funny, she gave me a bunch of numbers, and the fees increased less than what her workload did. And hear me out, because I had the same questions, like, why would that be? Well, in a new development, the fee is like $5,000. Once that development's set up, the houses that go in, the fee for each individual house is $50. So once you get a development, you got that money in. But then, you know, as they build the houses, it's a smaller fee, but actually the workload increases because you gotta go out and do the inspections once a month to all those houses. So, and she's doing good. She's holding her own. But it doesn't, being that she's so busy, there's no other things that she can really do in the office. She has to, you know, maintain that position. And then, you know, John, our technician, he's done an awesome job, you know, getting things started. But once you get these things started, you know, there's follow-up and things to do with that. And, you know, it kind of runs you thin. You're not really able to do as much as you can with each, you know, outreach project that you're doing. So it would be really helpful to have, you know, one more person in our office just to help fill the gaps.
You said we need to get back to where we used to be. Was that prior to the recession?
That is prior, this is like, this is when I was a kid probably, you know, in the 90s, 80s,
Oh,
90s.
Okay.
My father's generation, basically. You know, things did decline during the recession, 2008. You know, we got funded to a very low amount where we could only keep part-time employees. And so basically all the programs that we had, we couldn't do at all. And when things shut down for a while, you know, things change over time. And that's what I was telling someone earlier today. I mean, to build a program back up, you kind of have to rewrite it and you know, start over, basically, because you can't just go from what you used to do because things change so much.
Right.
So, yeah. And, I mean, NRCS, we work very closely with Natural Resource and Conservation District. And they're housed in the same building. They have federal funds. And they need help, too. They need help with education persons to get farmers to, and don't get me wrong, farmers are hard-headed. It takes a little bit for, you know, get something through to them. And there's some out there that are willing to do these new practices for conservation. And if they start seeing other producers doing some of these things, and they start to see it every year and doing well, it kind of catches on.
Yeah, it's
So
a tough.
that's part of
it's a
what the
tough job.
program's about.
Yeah, being a farmer is a tough job, and keeping the family farm going, and nobody likes rules and regulations and things of that nature.
Correct.
But, you know, I think in our case, we just have to realize that everything leads to the lake, and we need to keep one of the largest freshwater supplies in the world, you know, to be vibrant and healthy.
Right.
So.
And to add on to that, you know, having regulation and things change, farmers would much rather hear it from another farmer or someone that's more
Sure.
associated with the farming community
Right.
than like the EPA or someone that's, you know, sits in an office
The
up in
government, yeah.
at the county level or something like that. So that's where soil and waters kick in, where, you know,
Speak the language, right?
yep,
More trust, I think.
right, correct. So,
All right.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking time out today.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
very much.
Keep up
I
the
guess
good
being
work.
we're doing this a little differently than we have in the past, I don't know, when we would know, what we've been funded?
I think December is when we have our vote, isn't it?
Okay.
Shooting for
That-
December.
Yeah. So, Christmas.
Hopefully it'll be a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
It will be anyway.
It should be, it should be.
Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
no,
in.
thank you. You're just,
you.
you're, very passionate and deeply dedicated, and I know how frustrating it is, but, I know you got a heavy lift and a lot of work to do, and it's a challenging one, and, I just, your dedication just comes out every time you come in and talk about what you want to do and get done.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you gotta be. So, all right, well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Are we going? Okay.
Are we good?
All right.
All right. Good morning,
Well,
and again,
Good morning. Welcome Kyle White, Area Leader, Educator in Community Development, Ann Shannon, Educator, Agriculture and Natural Resources, and Jackie Baca, Educator, 4-H Youth. I only see two people here, but welcome from the OSU Extension.
thank you. Our ag educator's actually at a program today, and it's very apropos that we're following your soil and
Soil and
water
water,
because
yeah.
we actually can do a lot of work with them, and you're going to see a lot of opportunity in this presentation that kind of supports their work and our work. It's very collaborative, and it's very, I would say, dovetails quite a bit. So again, I'm Kyle White. This is Jackie Baca, our 4-H educator. And really, today I think you were hearing a little bit from Soil and Water on this, too. You get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. And we are really hoping that we will get a better understanding after this presentation about what else you want from us, and we want you to really understand what you're getting with us. So, cutting straight to the chase, we are requesting funding, similar to what you just heard from Soil and Water, that would cover the state requirement match for the counties. That is $229,100. I don't think we've done a very good job of presenting this in the past. I think it's been confusing just because of 2008 when we lowered, when funding was all, kind of in a turmoil. This is actually what the funding is required to cover the staff salaries that are the county portion, and then the university and federal grants cover the rest. So that would be, you can see the FTEs here. We have a collaborative effort for our funding. Again, we're requesting, based on the university and state requirements for extension, 39% support from the county commissioners. There would then be 18% from the cooperative extension programming and funding at the state level. 41% would be in addition to that you would receive from federal indirect grants. And then we get 2% from income from programs. And when we're done, if you have any questions, we can just follow up. We'll go through this kind of quickly. What you receive for your funding, you have 2.5 FTE educators and an additional 3 program staff delivering programs in the county. And then you get additionally federal and state funding that totals almost $300,000. The education that we bring is all science-based, it's all research-based, training from and educational resources from the state, from the university, from the country, nationally recognized resources. The impact, and we measure impact for our programming, we've put it in different buckets here. We work in the workforce realm. We're working on the STEM programming that teaches the science, technology, engineering, and math for youth in a number of different very special programs that we have been able to attract because of our great educators. And the Center for Food Innovation Oberlin through community development. I've mentioned that to each of you. If you have any questions, we can go into that in more detail. There is information in your packets. Environmental. You heard this from Soil and Water. Ohio State is part of the H2 Ohio program. We have a group of dedicated professional educators that are working on the algal blooms in Northwest Ohio, and we work with them here through the Sea Grant program in Northeast Ohio. So you have access to that, and we partner with Soil and Water. That's very important, as my predecessors just said, because pesticide and fertilizer application affects what happens in the lake. So we know it all runs into the ponds, it causes algal blooms that then can create toxins and all kinds of things we don't want here in Northeast Ohio. As part of that also, we have water quality initiatives that are part of that through H2 Ohio, and access to cutting-edge ag and environmental resources. So again, we're going to go into a little more detail about all of the work that we're doing in the ag and environmental realm in Lorain County. We are working very hard on healthy lifestyles, and I'm sure if you looked at your CHIP report, you would see that that's important in Lorain County, and as it is in every county. We're talking about nutrition, we're talking about healthy decision-making and choices, and that's not just with nutrition. That's with drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. And community service. We have a huge emphasis on teaching youth about community service, about their need to be able to give back to the community, and we have a huge Master Gardener program. It's growing. So what does this look like in practice? For your $229,100, you get 9.7 full-time equivalent employees. And so if you think about it, 10 employees for $229,100, that's salaries and benefits. Again, that's because we bring in all these additional funding sources. So that's how that comes about. We get additional funding, $300,000 from the federal government. We get additional funding from the state government, with you contributing $229,100. It also, I think, we need to take a good look at the 4-H Positive Youth Development Program, which we talked about a little bit earlier with some of the youth programming we're talking about. And the focus is on your head for greater thinking, your heart for greater loyalty, hands for larger service, and health for better living. And what better way can we teach our youth how to have a happy and successful life than through that? And despite COVID, in 2020 and 2021, we distributed over 2,000 STEM kits to schools and at summer lunch sites, in boys and girls clubs, through the libraries. We also, this last year, had a full fair. Thank you very much, commissioners. 919 youth participated, over 1,300, almost 1,400 projects. The best livestock sale ever, thanks to having this full fair. 970 youth participate in 60 4-H clubs, and here they learn how to run a meeting using Robert's Rules of Order. They do project work, leadership and service projects. Also, again, Jackie, do you want to talk a little bit about this? This is your area of expertise.
Absolutely. So the fun thing about what we do in 4-H is we have a couple different program delivery modes. And the one that people are most familiar with, of course, is our community clubs, which Kyle kind of just highlighted in the previous slide. This slide really represents some of those other areas that we provide 4-H programming, and that includes our school enrichment and special interest programs. So we have, we're very, very blessed in Lorain County. We've got some great foundations that also provide some grant funding. So our STEM program is funded through the Nordson Foundation and Community Foundation of Lorain County, and as well as funding that we receive from all of you. And we go into the schools to teach the kids hands-on science, technology, engineering, and math programming. Right now, we are in partnership with about 14 of our schools. We also do libraries and after-school programs. So we have a specific 4-H program assistant that she is taking the lead on all of that. In the last 6 years, Sally, who the community knows as STEM Sally, has reached over 18,000 youth in this program. The nice, unique part of our program and our STEM programming is we have a focus on workforce development. So when she goes in and teaches a lesson, she also is tying that to what jobs that can translate into. So even though the kids are learning what melting a starburst does, right? Because it's hands-on, it's fun, it's where they're at, that translates into, well, what's the science behind this? And then what career can that lead you into? So we're really trying to make those sparks with the kids and developing an interest in asking questions and feeling comfortable to ask questions and explore different things. Some of the research that we found in what Sally has collected in her data is you see a real big difference in specifically girls in the 5th grade and their attitudes towards science. It drops drastically. So that's something pretty cool that we found in the data that we've collected in Sally's programs, that we're really looking at, okay, so what need do we need to fill here? What other programs can we provide to address some of that? So really interesting stuff, and the bigger impact that we're looking at in the programs that she's doing. It's not just a fun hands-on event, right, or a lesson. It's that spark in science and asking questions and where else can this take you? So Sally does a great job. Other programs that we provide, we have a very healthy camp program here. It changed a little with COVID, right? Our camping facilities are on Kelly's Island, which is phenomenal. If you've not had a chance to go up to Erie County 4-H Camp on Kelly's Island, I highly recommend that you take a tour up there. It's a beautiful facility. So we take kids on a residential program up there for about a week. This year, we had about 112 youth that we were able to take. We were at half capacity because of COVID, so usually we take some more kids than that up to the island. But it's a great chance for those kids to really have an escape, to be just a kid, to exercise imagination, and to exercise independence. They're not with mom and dad, they're with our trained counselors, which we train, and our adult staff. And it's just a phenomenal program for kids to have another opportunity to learn life skills in a different manner. We also offer day camps for our kids, both Clover Buds, those are our itty bitties, our 5 to 9-year-olds, and day camps for the junior level kids as well, that just aren't comfortable for a residential camp yet, whether that's of their choice or of their parents, right? And then other programs and delivery modes that we do in 4-H include that special adult mentoring piece, and that is throughout all of our delivery methods. We know that research indicates the importance of kids having that trusting relationship with an adult that's not their parent. Super important for kids to develop coping skills, independence, belonging, and mastery in some of these life skills to get that close relationship and learn from adult volunteers. And what that also does for our community is it instills in our youth that idea of service, which is really important because with everything going on in the world today, we need youth that have that idea of sense of community and of giving back and coming together. And that's really what we're doing in our 4-H program, is teaching our kids life skills, decision-making skills. We're giving them all the information and the tools for them to make good decisions for themselves and their communities now and in the future. So, you know, I'm very passionate about 4-H and what we do in Lorraine County. I'm very proud of our program in Lorraine County. And I could speak to you all day on just 4-H. So, I won't, I know.
We got some nice note cards after the fair from the kids in 4-H. so-
Good. Well, you know, appreciation and really understanding that it takes a lot of people to come together to make our programs happen. So I'm glad you received those. Fantastic. One other program I'll quickly highlight is our Car Teens program. We work collaboratively with the courts on this. Teens that receive a traffic violation are sentenced to Car Teens. It's a 2-hour program. We offer it twice a month on a Thursday evening and a Saturday morning. And they get to learn how to be safer drivers. We teach everything from the dangers of drinking and driving and texting while driving to what does this sign actually mean, right?
And tailgating.
Yes.
My
So,
personal favorite.
so we've got a program assistant that teaches this program as well. She does a phenomenal job with the kids and works collaboratively with both our Sheriff's Department as well as our Ohio State Police Department in providing this education for our kids. And the magic piece that we really love is if the kids go to our course, they pass our course, then the points are taken off of their license. So there is another benefit for them learning how to be safer drivers. So lots of great stuff we're doing in 4-H in different ways that we are providing youth in Lorraine County opportunities to learn life skills.
Thanks, Jackie. And I will tell you quickly, because of our STEM program, we received over $34,000 worth of Apple equipment and training on coding, and we have a coding program. And as Jackie said, right now, the STEM assistant is funded through the Nordson Foundation, thank you, Nordson Foundation, and the Community Foundation of Lorraine County. However, they would like us to become self-sustaining. They continually ask us what the plan is, and we have sought funding from other sources. I think I've mentioned this to you. So when you're supporting our program, you in effect are supporting the schools that we are going into. And Jackie did not speak about her Health Rocks program, which is a wonderful program on tobacco, alcohol, and drug use, and it's she received a grant for that to provide that in the schools and school enrichment. So a number of different areas that we're covering. This one thing on this slide I want to share is this actually should say agriculture and natural resources. So on the header it should say that. And since January 2021, this gives you an idea. As I said, the folks here from Soil and Water were here earlier. We have a very deep connection with the farm community. So Ann has received over 300 phone calls this year so far, year to date, that she has been fielding to answer questions on consumer horticulture. She gets a lot of inquiries, believe it or not, from new farmers, people that want to start small 10-acre farms, and veteran farmers asking all things including about stink bugs and their berries. Not counting on-farm research, she has gone to 7 farms and met with farmers this year. She has had 41 people, despite COVID and the building being locked, she has had 41 people come to personally meet with her with inquiries about their personal needs for ag and natural resources. She also was recruited to be a member of the Pawpaw team. Do you guys know what pawpaws are?
See a green thing the size of your hand?
Yeah, that's it's actually a fruit that tastes kind of like a banana, and it's native to Northeast Ohio. And this is something that researchers are saying could provide great food security for Ohio in the future. We're really cultivating. There's a lot of interest in growing pawpaws, and they can use it in baking and all kinds of things in lieu of other things, even flowers. You can turn it into flour. So just kind of let you know, we're on the cutting edge there. The fertilizer applicator and pesticide applicator training is required, and that's because of everything that's going on as far as the runoff into the streams and into the lake. This is part of the reason that we're not part of that Age to Ohio program in Northwest Ohio, is because Northeast Ohio right now doesn't hit the bar yet. But we are trying to do our part in making sure that everybody is in compliance. 2022 is going to be a huge year. We're going to have over 200 people in this area that need to be trained. And Master Gardener volunteers. She's launched a program despite COVID, she has 23 active volunteers, many hours, and most of the time they spend is, again, on food insecurity. So they do a lot of work in community gardens, urban and rural. In community development, what I do, I am the co-chair of the Center for Food Innovation, Oberlin. You have information in your packets. If you have any questions, let me know. But that is, it's an aim to become a workforce development resource. I also conducted a needs assessment. You can see I handed each of you a copy on page 6, 11, and 18 are word clouds of the words that were most commonly used to answer these 3 questions. What do you think is or are the greatest assets of Lorain County? What do you, question number 2, right before. What do you think is vital for the future of Lorain County? And what do you think is the one gap that, if filled, could have the greatest impact on the quality of life in Lorain County? And the one thing, after doing analysis here, transportation is a biggie. A lot of focus on youth from the people that responded to this. They think the vocational schools are great. They think the schools do a great job, but they don't think kids know who the employers are in Lorain County, and they don't think that kids are prepared to go to work. So
Who filled this out?
we dispersed the QR codes throughout the county, including at the libraries, at the fair, at the Elyria, through the Elyria office, through our advisory committee, including the Farm Bureau. So we tried to go far and wide. We only had like 90 people. So the next time we do it, we'll go wider. But we didn't want to get any particular community, so it was urban and rural that we sought answers from. And I'm also a certified coach at a number of different things. I've worked with Nordson on the strength certification, and we were going to do a trauma-informed care class here. The company that we were working with, they're having staffing problems. Imagine that. So they decided to wait until they had a fully staffed workforce before they did the training. So your return for your investment, dollar-to-dollar match, at least. You get a little bit more than $1 back for everything you give us. The university and us as educators are continually looking for research-based, science-based resources. You have the staff. We now have 3 educators who have been here for 3 years. This hasn't been the case in Lorain County for years. The turnover has been enormous. So now we have a stable staff, and we're asking you to help us keep that. We have a focus on workforce. We support the urban population through our community nutrition programs, through STEM education, school enrichment, the Apple coding program, other workforce resources. I've done some business plans with some of the companies around here. I've connected the businesses to economic development to help with tax incentives. We're doing work with community gardens in the urban area. Ann is very involved with that. And support for the rural, for the agricultural resources. And as our predecessor said here, the guys that were here before, Ann is a farmer. Actually, Ann has a farm. So she can completely relate. She can talk to them, and they know she's a farmer, and she can connect with them. And the Master Gardener volunteers. We support the disenfranchised, some of those that are underserved, through our STEM education, the school enrichment, where we go into schools and really support the teachers, healthy choices, trauma-informed care, mental health first aid, programming for the youth. So what questions do you have for me?
What don't you do?
I don't dance, and I don't sing. So... But if you ask me to, I would, just if you'll give us $229,100. But
And that was the most honest answer I have heard today. Thank you, Kyle.
How has the funding been from the state and the feds? And I mean, have you seen that leveling off? Have you seen that declining? Have you seen that
pretty
more
flat.
complicated to get?
no, it's just pretty flat right
Flat?
now. We're seeing, last year there was a little bit of a decrease. This year, there's a little bit of an increase, so it kind of is a wash.
So I
You
guess
know.
I'm just wondering, we've had these conversations before in my office. Are you folks also reaching out to legislators saying, hey, guys, we need more support from the state? The
We have a
university itself
lobby-
needs to provide greater support. Talking to your Congress people saying, hey, we need greater support for these programs, not just, because so many things get kicked down to the local level. And obviously, I want to be as supportive as possible. But boy, I got to tell you, those folks at the state and the feds, they got a lot more money than I do.
Well, I imagine this, Ohio State has a lobby group. And we also send people annually to Washington and to Columbus to talk with the legislators. And they do what they can. I know I believe that everybody does the best they can with what they've got. I really believe that. But as, I provided each of you with some feedback from other like-size and similar-sized counties. There's, the university has a very set formula. And they have hammered this out with the federal legislators through the Farm Bill and through the state legislation. They've talked about what we have to provide, what has to be provided locally. And through the Farm Bill, the largest part of the Farm Bill is the SNAP funding. And so they support the SNAP and the FNET program. So that's, a huge contribution, Commissioner Lundy, but I understand what you're saying. But they do provide a high level of support. These educational resources, because they're so tailored to each county, I think they look at it that we need to have the buy-in, and they need to know that our local governments support us too.
As a Michigan graduate,
Oh, my word.
Ouch!
I would like to say that I do support you guys.
Thank you.
And I would have to say that last weekend was a little bit emotional for me.
That's not our fault.
Well, my family all went to Michigan State. I'm the only Michigan graduate.
Really?
But I also want to say that they probably had the best cheer last weekend I've ever heard a crowd do. So thank you for showing up today.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for your consideration. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, welcome back. We have Jacob Smith, Executive Director of the Veterans Commission. Welcome. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, and I saw about the Michigan State, so Bowling Green, my Falcons, will be defeating the University of Toledo. I just need to say that to Larry
You guys
Amato.
do your sports talk.
They beat Minnesota. That was a huge.
It was no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, but okay.
All right, we are line item ready for you, Mr. Smith.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for having me. I am here, as I was last year, to answer any questions you may have. I will tell you before you start, a couple things we're exceedingly proud of here is we are always looking for ways, and I think I told you last year that we were looking to bring down our transportation budget. I said that was one of our goals for this year. I think we've achieved that and we're continuing to work on that. We contract right now with a company to provide some transportation to veterans, and we're really taking a look at do we need them to transport as much as what we use them for. About $4.50 a mile is what I think we're paying for a private outside company to do that. We can get it done for about $1.20. So that is one of the reasons you're going to see an increase in the payroll. On top of that, there's just always an increase in payroll. But just to give you an idea, last December we paid over $24,000 in 1 month to a company to provide transportation to veterans, on top of what we're already doing. The most recent bill we have is September. October, we usually get around the 8th of each month. September, we were just under $13,000. So you're talking significant savings. We're actually, my board has decided to hire another driver on, and we'll probably be buying another vehicle or two, because even though that costs money, over the long term, it costs less for us to do it than it does to pay a company to do it. Now, that being said, there are times we are never going to fully abandon that contract because we have what we call fragile and frail veterans, and we feel they need a higher level of transportation. So we're going to continue to use them for that, but we're going to try to continue to reduce that. So what are your questions? I can go on more, but I think it probably best if you had questions that we can answer.
On transportation.
On anything.
Are you going to go through the whole?
I can
we
if
did
you
last
want,
year?
but that's kind of, I mean, I can if you
Okay,
want.
great.
Well, let's start with the,
So you mentioned you were going to look at hiring how many new employees, Mr. Smith?
yes, we're looking at hiring some more simply because, especially another driver right now, we also are doing more and more claims, and we're very happy with that. In the last 2 weeks, the Veteran Service Commission, through the filing of claims, we've actually brought in two individuals, obviously I can't give names, but got considerable back pay from the VA. That was instigated primarily because our service officers saw that. And why I'm not comfortable giving the amount or the names, but I can tell you it's in the tens of thousands of dollars that come into this county directly. I will also tell you that, just to give you an idea of the payback that we give the county, there's 88 counties in Ohio. ODVS gives us a report each year. We are the 9th largest county by veteran population. There were only 2 counties in the state of Ohio last year that gave more to help veterans in financial assistance than Lorain County. 2, Franklin and Cuyahoga. We distributed last year over $1 million in financial assistance to the veterans of this county. This year, I don't know that we're going to quite hit that, and there's a couple reasons for that. Not that we've really changed anything, but there's a lot of money out there that a lot of people are getting. And when I talked to you last year, I talked about that I thought we were going to probably even use more this year. I don't think we're going to even use as much as we did last year, is my initial guess. And that is because of the money. I anticipated that come June, July, August, and I was talking to other executive directors from around the state, they also suspected that come starting June, July, and August, they were going to get hit hard. And while we have definitely seen an increase, we did not see the increase that we did. So keep in mind, according to ORC, I have to turn this into you guys by the first Monday in May. So you're asking me to talk about a budget that I was forced to turn in
Yeah.
5-6 months ago, or not 3-4 months ago, that doesn't even start till January 1st. So, yeah, I mean, I can go through each line item. I mean, the employees, I already mentioned, the board members. I mean, they're at the, I mean, employees 800, board members 50, PERS 120, because we have to pay for the PERS. Supplies and material, that can be anything from paper, pencils, to just normal things that run the office. The grade markers, that is, there was a conversation between us and the auditor. That name has now changed. It's now flags and grade markers, because there was a question as to whether or not we could buy flags out of that, and we had been. So that, but that change is officially done now. Capital vehicles, for next year, we did 40. We're definitely going to use that. And come to find out, we're probably going to be buying a regular type vehicle like you or I would purchase. We're probably also going to be buying another handicap van. Come to find out, believe it or not, there are many vans that are designed to have wheelchairs in them that are not ADA compliant. Didn't even know that existed, but it does. We will be buying the ADA compliant vans, obviously. It's just one of those hiccups that you don't ever expect to find, but there it is. Contractual purchase, that's $250,000. That's a big thing there. And that is where the contract for transportation comes out of. We put that in there in May because we wanted to see where we're at. Because for the last couple of years, we've been budgeting that at about $20,000 a month. And we never really saw that drop till I came in and started to say, yeah, we can do this better. Government can be more efficient. And I think we've definitely proven that we have. The relief allowances, which is the biggest item in there, that's 1.7. You know, keep in mind I had to make this budget in April-May timeframe, and we thought we were going to start getting hit in June, July for this year. While we did see a slight increase, we didn't get hit the way we thought. But it's one of those things where if we don't spend it at the end of the year, you guys get it back. So it's not really, you know, if we don't spend it, it evaporates. It just returns to the county.
Yeah, and I can see where your vehicle repair and maintenance would go up, because as the vehicles age out and as you acquire more vehicles, then you spend more money to maintain them. And then the furniture went down. I'm assuming that's because you had your remodel in the 2021.
We haven't had the remodel yet.
They're starting that though, and you have your furniture in that budget, right?
So furniture is a weird thing, right? The furniture line item, you can't spend a penny out of furniture unless you spend $15,000 on furniture. So let me give you an example. So when I came in and we had to get a desk, another desk, I sent up for it to be paid out of furniture. And I got kicked back and they said, you can't do this. I said, why not? A desk is furniture. And they said, money can only be spent out of furniture if the total bill is greater than $15,000. Everything else has to come out of equipment.
Casey?
It had, because it's capital furniture and fixtures. So that's the little loophole right there. To be a capital furniture and fixtures, according to the auditor standards, it has to be over that $15,000 threshold that Jacob speaks of. So if it's just a chair or something that falls under that threshold, it would just go under equipment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's all the
Yeah.
auditor standards, yeah. How they break
So it's
that
just something we put in there. Sort of like an appendix. We know we all have one, but we really don't know what it is.
What is it this year, 3.8, the cap you could
Yeah.
get? You're asking for what, 3.4?
Yeah, roughly. I mean,
Okay.
if you're talking rough numbers, yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
And then when they're gonna do your remodel, you were getting some new computers to have that kind of,
Yeah.
workroom for veterans to come in?
Yeah, so I can give you a quick update on that. So our architect is this week sending over the plans for the remodel, is the information I got from him last week, at which point the county is going to do all the bidding process and everything else. Once that's done, then we're going to get the computers to put into the system. And we'll probably need county IT to come in and run some more lines. So, Commissioner Moore might know better than I what the timeline would be, how long would we go out to bid, and how long do you think it would take? Yeah, exactly, yeah. You're not the first person
Well,
I've
it's not
asked.
that, it's just based on, who wants to do it. Everyone's having a problem with labor, and, I don't know, when does, I think Dan would know more about that. You're probably looking at a month or two,
Yeah,
you know?
that's, as soon as we get, and the county hasn't got the blueprints yet. So
Oh, well then, we're,
yeah, right.
okay. We're
You're gonna
next,
get them supposedly this week is what is,
the blueprints this week?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's good, then I'll
yeah.
Yeah, it's just when I was looking at this, as Commissioner Hung brought up, I know you were talking about this new computer lab for the veterans, and I'm seeing capital computer system equipment, 15,000 last year, but this year I think you got it in at 5,000?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a number that we put in because when we were doing this budget,
last year.
yeah, in
Yeah.
May of this year,
Okay.
we didn't know that the remodel was going to happen.
Okay.
Therein lies the issue with trying to do a budget in April for something that doesn't start till January.
Then there's a big difference in the utility line here. You get 3,021 and you got 20,000.
Yeah, so utilities, we were considering and trying to find out if we could get on a new internet system. It was just something we were kicking around at that point in time. And I know there's an internet systems here, and we weren't really sure how that would work. So once again, we just put that in the budget just in case we needed it. The other things we can use utilities for are our phones, and we were looking at upgrading our phones, which we actually have. Our drivers were running around with flip phones still. Yeah, and we didn't really know what the cost of that was going to be. We just came over to smartphones. We actually got a pretty good deal. And now our drivers, we wanted them to have a camera in case they're in an accident. They can take pictures. They have data. We're actually looking at leveraging other apps so we can communicate with our drivers better.
Can I jump in? So, you mentioned the increase in the relief allowances and trying to get more of them, those dollars out to the veterans. So advertising and printing, you have an increase of 50,000, which makes sense if you want to get out more of the dollars. You need to advertise, I get that. And if you could talk a little bit about that, what your plans are and where you want to spend those dollars. And then the professional services jumped 30,000, if you kind of segue those together for us.
Yeah, so let's start with the professional services first. The reason for the professional services was because you got to remember when I wrote this up and took it to the commissioners, that was in April and May, and we were a little concerned about relationships with other county agencies at the time. So we wanted to make sure that we had money in there in case we need to defend ourselves, so that's why that's there. As far as the advertising and printing goes, that was actually a last-minute increase, believe it or not. We had it at 125, and we decided that we want to do some more advertising, such as newsletters next year, and advertising actually within the posts themselves, because that's where a lot of the veterans go. We knew we're getting new vehicles. We want new vehicles. And you see the wrap that we have on our vehicles. That comes out of advertising. So that would have to go there too. So, and I can tell you right now, let me see if I can
I
find
just have one more.
advertising and
Then I'll turn it over
printing.
to you guys.
And this was as of, I think, yesterday. We have about $13,580 left in that account right now. So everything we're doing and more. And one of the things we're doing is we're saving money in some areas, and we're trying to spend it in other areas. So we got some goodie bags that we give out to the fair, swag bags, we'll call them for lack of a better term, which have actually been received. I was a little nervous about how it was going to be received, but veterans really seem to like it. There's a couple other things we're doing. We bought some mugs, which I think I gave one to the two gentlemen up there, but I didn't give one to you yet, so I can do that. If a veteran comes in and files a claim, we'll give them a mug, and we're actually getting some response back from that because people see them running around and saying, hey, where'd you get it? And oh yeah, I filed a claim and I got it. And when people file claims, you have to understand, service-connected disability can be little over $100 a month. It can be up to, regular if you don't attach any of the extras, like $3,500 a month. And that's coming into the county for residents. So it's working really, really well, I think.
And I understand too on the advertising and the printing and all that, because not everybody, receives the information the same. They're not all Facebook or, Twitters or, so some of this stuff you're doing old school hard copies and like you said, going into the posts and all of that. But the one question that we've talked about in the office, you probably know the answer to it. How many veterans in Lorraine County? What's the number?
Okay,
What's the
so-
hard, solid number for us?
Yeah.
Mr. Director.
Yeah, okay, so that number is going to be really, I can't tell you to the person. The VA, according to the VA, I can tell you to the person, which is 20,307. Last year, according to the VA, we lost 400 veterans. This county has a problem, and it's not a unique problem to this county. It is a problem with the state in general. I have some ideas that I'd love to talk to you guys about to increase the number of veterans that live in this county. But according to the VA, in about 30 years, we're going to have less than 10,000 veterans living in Lorraine County. Wow. Cuyahoga County is going to have right about where we're at now, and they got over double what we have. Veterans, by and large, are not moving into the Midwest. On top of that, you have another problem. The percentage of population of people that served during World War II through today has gone straight down. For example, while there are a lot of Vietnam vets that serve multiple tours in Vietnam, that's not common. It's generally one tour, maybe two at the most, but the vast majority of Vietnam veterans I met, one tour. My generation, one. I have 15 months in Iraq. And that's a long time, but a lot of veterans, my generation, 2, 3, 4 tours. Veterans are coming back with severe post-traumatic stress. You separate someone from their family for that long of a period of time, you're going to have a lot of mental health issues that the VA is seeing. My generation overall has a higher level of service-connected disability than generations before. There's a number of reasons for that. One, which I already mentioned, the number of tours that they're doing. The other is the quality and improvement of health care. A veteran who gets severely injured in the fields of France in World War II very badly, his chances of survival are a lot less than a veteran today. And when that veteran died, when that service person died in France, the family got a check from the government, a Purple Heart, and went on. The veteran who gets wounded today in Iraq or Afghanistan, who loses a limb, who saw his friend blow up in front of him, and will have nightmares for the rest of his life, will receive service-connected disability for a lot longer period of time. If the same thing happened to a serviceman 50 years ago, he might not have survived. So while we are seeing the percentage of veterans go down, we are seeing those that are around have more severe issues. And the state of Ohio needs to do a better job in making Ohio more enticing for veterans to live here. I have a couple ideas that I think I would like to try to pilot here in Lorain County, so that a veteran that works in Lorain, let's say Erie, Lorain, or Cuyahoga, when they're deciding where they want to move, will choose to move here. So I would welcome those conversations, and I think that you have veterans that move into your area. Generally speaking, you got solid citizens. Sorry, but
No, no.
you opened my Pandora's
No,
box,
you're
so
very
I take it
thorough.
very seriously.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. You're very thorough in your explanation.
I know that, the board's always been supportive of hiring veterans, and I think a lot of employers around here certainly are very supportive of that same thing. I know when I was in the legislature, we were looking at all kinds of ways to support the veterans and to have them come to Ohio. That there's certain certifications that are required in the state, but because of your military service, where you practiced in those areas, even the simple thing of, driving a truck or whatever, or maybe you didn't have to go through all the same, driving requirements when you came to Ohio, trying to make sure that those skills could be transferred into the state. But yeah, if you have ideas on what we can do to bring people to the area, if we can get rid of the snow in the wintertime and have it 60 degrees every day, that would be great.
I would love for Lorain County to be 63 degrees every day.
No, just appreciate all that you're doing, and obviously we're here to support you, and looking forward to the renovations getting started over there and the new computer lab getting in place, and I read in the paper this morning about the commissioners and the dollars we made available for the various posts, and how was that received the other day?
Unbelievably well. And I will tell you, and I don't, once again, I don't want to get into names, but we had a Veteran Service Commissioner from another county come over to that event. And that commissioner was extremely impressed. And I think you guys and myself may be getting calls on that, because the veteran community is pretty tight-knit on that. As soon as you start calling one county about something, it starts spreading. So I did want to publicly thank the commissioners, and I did this a few weeks back, for the money, for the post. They really did need it. And we're working on a bunch of things with you guys that we don't have time to get into right now. But you're really starting to make a big difference in the lives of veterans. I can tell you, we are looking at new ways, 21st century ways, in my opinion, on getting food vouchers out to people. There's a better way to do it. There has to be a better way. And my commissioners, and I think Joe would agree, they are pushing me very hard to find better ways to do things. And and we have counties that are calling us to ask us, how'd you do this? How'd you do this? What are you doing with this? COVID, we had counties calling us. How are you staying open? Other Veteran Service Commissions closed their doors. We did not. And because we understand the service that we have to provide to our fellow veterans. I can tell you all of our employees presently are veterans, with the exception of one. He is a young man from Murray Ridge, and he does an excellent job. He helps us out quite a bit. So, yeah, we're real proud of what we're doing. And if once the remodel's done, we'd love to have you guys over, take a tour of it, see what's going on. Because it's like I told you all, it's not only going to improve the function of the office, it's going to improve the security of the office. So.
And I just want to compliment you too. I know you've made changes in the area of the marketing, because I know in the past when I would hear some of the ads on the Cleveland radio stations, and I thought, oh my gosh, that costs an arm and a leg. I don't know how in the world that's possible. And then it's also kind of a shotgun approach. But, you know, nowadays with the way all the targeting information is available, you can identify the households with the veterans there and make sure that you get information directly to them. And I think that makes a world of difference instead of the kind of the shotgun approach with just, you know, throwing some ads on a, you know, I don't know, WGAR or Sports Talk or whatever it may be. And I just don't think that's as effective as getting it directly to them.
I can tell you that within 1 year, 1 quarter of last year and 1 quarter of this year, and how we've adjusted our advertising, we've actually spent less than we used to. And 1 quarter last year, we did 38 claims in a quarter, which is horrible. That's not good at all. We've done over 150 in the same quarter this year because of, you know, our mugs going out to the post. We even bought, you're going to laugh. You know when you go to restaurants, you get the cardboard coasters? If you know any restaurants that want cardboard coasters, we have advertising on there. So we will give them to people to use in their restaurants, and we're actually seeing some responses from that, so we're real happy about that. Instead of Bud Light or whatever, it's Lorraine County. Yeah. So, do you have any other questions, commissioners?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Tell
Coming
everybody,
in for the support. This guy needs our support.
tell everybody we said hello.
We will. Thanks for all your help.
You know how shy he is, doesn't like to talk. I'm talking about.
Okay, and we're back. Moving on to B, Clerk's Report.
Next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we'll have a commissioners meeting at 9:30.
9:30, okay. All righty, and I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Present.